Sometimes the world feels as if it is full of noise, making it hard to notice the quieter moments that still matter. Welcome to 10 Better Minutes, a podcast that shares recent stories from real life to bring a little more balance to how we see things. This is a place where the difficult parts of the world are not ignored, but where ordinary acts of kindness and connection are given their space. Over the next few minutes, you will hear about some of the softer, steadier pieces of life that often go unnoticed. We will begin with a story about a retired firefighter who made an 800-mile journey to support someone he helped bring into the world many years ago. Retired firefighter Alan Kent did not just rush to a medical call in Colorado Springs on February 15, 2004. He heard Stacy upstairs screaming and believed a baby was on the way. Minutes later, Chloe Huddle was born, and Kent was the first person to hold her. Years passed, and the question of what happens after that first moment can feel like a mystery. But Kent had made a simple promise to himself and to Chloe. When her graduation day arrived, he kept it in the most straightforward way possible. Chloe walked across the stage at Grand Canyon University on Friday to receive an educational studies degree. Kent traveled 800 miles to be there, arriving ready to cheer, steady in his pride and clearly loud in the crowd. When they connected again, it was not awkward or distant. It was familiar, like family that shows up because you belong. Chloe said Kent feels like family. She also remembered that he promised to be present for major milestones, and that promise did not fade with time. This story is a bright reminder that care can extend well beyond a single call. Sometimes, the most hopeful endings begin with showing up, holding on, and turning a moment of responsibility into a lifelong bond. Sometimes the simplest scenes turn into the biggest turning points, especially when a community chooses to step in with care. In this story, a tiny fragile start in a Ballinger, Texas kitchen cabinet leads to a second chance that keeps growing. It began when rescuers with Humane World for Animals and the Runnels County Sheriff Office arrived after reports of nonstop barking and a property that needed help. Inside a kitchen cabinet, they found a young puppy who was completely hairless, crouched in a way that looked like she was trying to take up as little space as possible. They nicknamed her Dobby, and soon other animals were being pulled to safety too, more than 70 in all, including chickens, ducks, geese, and a cat. Medical treatment followed, including care for mange. And then, the next morning, something shifted in the quietest, most hopeful ways. Dobby woke in a clean, safe environment, began eating like a normal puppy, and started to gain weight as her recovery took hold. She grew softer, more confident, and more like herself day by day. That is when Haley, a graphic designer, drove 2 hours to meet her. She adopted the puppy and renamed her Misty. Soon, Misty bonded closely with Haley's other dog, Oswald, and you can feel the change every time Misty plays, wags her tail, and looks to the people who stayed. Sometimes it feels like the only real life we see online is the perfectly staged kind. This story is a gentle reminder that the everyday stuff is still worth sharing, and that small comforts can matter. Stephanie Murphy, a mom and TikTok creator, did an unfiltered average house tour that basically said, "We live here, and it shows." In her pantry, the door stayed unpainted for 3 years. On her blinds, binder clips held them in place. Even her air conditioners were held with duct tape. Her fridge was not a design moment, but a kid moment, covered with school pictures and her child's artwork. And on the bed were 2 separate blankets, just as they likely are when you are juggling life day to day. What really stood out was how quickly people felt seen. Like, oh, I am not the only one. And then there is the parallel in care. Operation Smile shared how bubbles can be soothing and also help with skill building, both before surgery and during speech therapy. They described Lilia, born in 2020, who had 2 surgeries and is now a healthy 5-year-old. To me, it adds up to something hopeful. Real homes and real progress do not have to be flawless to be meaningful. They just have to meet people where they are with warmth, patience, and whatever small tools work. There's something quietly powerful about giving young people a little time to be simply young. Today, we are looking at a festival that turns a demanding routine into 3 days of friendship and breathing room. Young carers between the ages of 11 and 17 in Hampshire can take part in an annual residential weekend at YMCA Fairthorn Manor. It is run by the YMCA Fairthorn Group in partnership with the Children's Society, and it lasts 3 days. The program is built around an idea that can sound simple, but is rare in practice. Children with caring responsibilities deserve space to enjoy being children, to meet others who understand, and to make new friendships that do not feel like an exception, but like a welcome. This summer, the theme is celebrating you, and that focus shows up in the way the weekend is shaped for them. Of course, getting there is not always easy. In 2025, only about half of the young carers who attended in the festival's earlier years were able to come because funding was limited. A spot that includes a tent costs $140, and grants from the Children's Society help, but the demand still outpaces what is available. Even with those limits, the impact is lasting. For one weekend, young carers get memories that fit inside childhood and the chance to return feeling less alone. It also encourages others to volunteer and support more places, so more young people can be celebrated for who they are, not just what they manage. Sometimes it is the smallest moment that turns into a long thread of grace, and this story in Paris, Texas, follows that thread all the way back to a wish to reconnect. At Applebee's in 2021, a woman paid for a man's dinner, then quietly slipped him a handwritten note. She wrote that she had lost her husband 7 years earlier, and that it was the first time she had eaten alone in public since his passing. She also noticed that he was eating alone, and she offered reassurance with the simple truth that kindness still exists. The man kept that note for 4 years, carrying it like a steady reminder that people can be gentle without needing anything in return. After he later experienced his own loss in 2025, he decided to honor that kindness. He wrote a response and hoped the woman would somehow see it. For a while, the note was only an unanswered message, but then Paris Coffee shared the story, and a Facebook request asked the community for help tracking her down. Now that internet search is helping bring their handwritten words closer together. It is a quiet kind of miracle, not flashy, just practical and faithful. When grief makes the world feel smaller, it turns out trust in people can make it expand again, one note at a time. As always, I have a wonderful tip for you to help with your mental reset and to find more steadiness in your day. Today's tip is about why outrage seems to move faster than nuance and how you can respond without getting swept away. Here's what happens. Outrage is simple. It has a clear villain, a quick verdict, and an immediate emotional payoff. Nuance, on the other hand, takes a little more time and attention. It asks you to hold more than one idea at once. It invites questions like, what else might be true? And what context am I missing? That kind of thinking does not feel as instant, so it often gets drowned out. The good news is that your mind can choose the pace. The next time you feel that heat rising, pause for one breath and ask yourself 2 questions. What exactly am I reacting to? And what would I need to know to understand this more fairly? You do not have to ignore your values. You just do not have to outsource your judgment to the loudest emotion in the room. Slow down enough to notice what you know, what you do not know yet, and what you can verify. Outrage can be a signal. Nuance is how you act wisely on it. We have reached the end of today's 10 Better Minutes episode, and I just want to say thank you for spending a few minutes with me. If today felt heavy or noisy in your own day, I hope these stories left you with something steadier instead, a quieter reminder that kindness, decency, and ordinary good work are still happening, even when they do not always make the headlines. Goodness does not need perfection to be real. This is Ian Rhodes with 10 Better Minutes. Take care, and I will see you tomorrow